famous artists of the air, offer for your approval a quite unusual program. A great deal has been written about Victor Herbert, the composer, but not near enough about Victor Herbert, the man. So we are going to bring you not only the haunting melody, but also some personal reminiscences of America's greatest composer. We believe there is no one better qualified to present these personal reminiscences than the gentleman we are about to introduce to you, whose intimate friendship with the great composer, over a period of years, enabled him to present these personal glimpses of Victor Herbert's life and work, the well-known actor-producer, Eddie Dowling. Picture Eddie Dowling at the age of 18, a struggling young vaudeville actor, engaged to play a small part in a new show called She Took a Chance, for which Victor Herbert had written a score. This marked the beginning of a friendship that lasted during the life of the great composer. And now it is my privilege to present Mr. Eddie Dowling.
Gypsy Sweetheart. I don't know of anything that so typifies the real spirit of Victor Herbert as that melody. But if ever there was a gypsy, at heart it was that same romantic adventure, lovable Irene. Born in Ireland, educated in Germany, he roamed the globe, making the whole world his workshop. I'll never forget a little incident that gave me my first insight into the character of this great man. It occurred during the rehearsals of the show the announcer just mentioned. We'd been in rehearsal a great many weeks. One afternoon, one of the chorus girls suddenly dropped to the floor in a faint. Mr. Herbert went immediately to her assistance. When she came to, he discovered she was weak from hunger. We'd been rehearsing so long, she'd run out of funds. Hadn't been able to make an advance on her salary. On questioning the rest of us, he found that we were nearly all in the same boat. He stopped the rehearsal and went immediately to the manager and demanded that we all be given enough money to tide us over. Also that the show open without any further delay. Well, it did. We took a chance opening in Washington the following Tuesday. Do you remember that music? You probably don't. Because the show closed right away. It wasn't good enough to bring it to New York. Back in New York the next week, I got to thinking. With all the confidence of my 18 years, I thought I could have saved that show. In fact, I'd already mapped out some new scenes and written a few lyrics. The incident at rehearsal when the girl fainted had shown me how sympathetic and approachable Mr. Herbert was. So one night, taking my courage in both hands, here I go, up to his apartment. Good evening, Mr. Herbert.
Good evening, Eddie. How are you, laddie?
Mr. Herbert, I hope you'll excuse me coming up like this, but I was wondering what you're going to do about the show. It struck me, I was thinking...
Well, don't think out here in the hall. Come in, my boy. Let me take your hat. There's a nice, comfortable chair. That's it. Now then, what's that you were saying?
Mr. Herbert, I'd like to talk to you about that show. What are they going to do with it?
I don't think that anything will be done with it, unless the author can fix it up. And so far, we haven't been able to get hold of him. And to tell you the truth, I don't think he could do anything if we did.
I think I could do something with it. I'd like to rewrite it.
Would you now? Well, what makes you think you can?
Oh, I've got some great ideas. You know, I used to sit around at the rehearsals and figure what I'd do if the show were mine. And I'd like to get a chance to show you what I can do.
Have you ever written anything?
Yes, I've written some vaudeville acts, a lot of songs. Got a lyric right here in my pocket now. I think it'll just fit the second act.
Well, go ahead and read it.
Take life and love as we find them. Nothing is really worthwhile. Those who put troubles behind them meet their cares with a smile. Just for a hasty word spoken, just for a fond word unsaid, love that'll still you. Love that'll thrill you fades like a flower and lies dead.
Yes, I see.
I'm afraid I didn't read it very well. I'm so nervous.
You read it all right, my boy. And I'm going to put a melody to it.
Do you really like it, Mr. Herbert? Gosh, I was afraid you might think it too sentimental.
Don't be ashamed, my boy. A bit of sentiment to a song is like rain to the flowers. They're both the better for it.
You think so, Mr. Herbert?
Think so? I know it. That's why I like to work with youngsters like yourself, Eddie. You've still got it, my lad. We old-timers on Broadway are apt to lose it. We think it's smart to laugh at sentiment. Don't do it, lad. Don't ever do it, and you'll go far.
I can't begin to tell you the effect these simple words of Victor Herbert had on me that night so long ago. But I will say from the bottom of my heart that I've carried them with me ever since. Well, a day or two later, the impossible happened, and I was given a contract to do the rewriting. And it wasn't long before we were in rehearsal with the show which had been renamed The Velvet Lady. The next few weeks were so filled with the excitement of writing, revising, conferences, rehearsals, in fact, all the things that go to make show business what it is, but the opening night was on me before I had a chance to worry about it. Then when that night of nights came, I'm standing backstage. It's almost curtain time. And all of a sudden it strikes me that I, an unknown voice from the country, have written a show with the great Victor Herbert, and my knees start to give away. Just then I see Mr. Herbert coming toward me on his way to the orchestra pit. Listen, the boys in the orchestra are tuning up now. Hey, Phil, lower that spot. Turn it this way.
What's the matter, Eddie? You're pale as a ghost.
Gosh, Mr. Herbert, I'm nervous. Are all openings at nights like this?
Nabby, I know just how you feel. This is your first, and I hope you'll have a good many more. But remember this, as long as you live, you'll never find anything like the thrill of an opening night, especially when you're part of it.
Overture! Overture! Overture!
They're calling the overture. I've got to get down in the pit. Good luck, Nabby.
Good luck, Mr. Herbert.
Just what a house out there. Did you see who's in the first row? No, who? Diamond Jim Brady. And there's Alan Dale. And there's Big Jim Sullivan. There goes the overture. What an opening this is.
on, Eddie. There's your cue. What? Oh, all right. I wish my knees would stop shaking. Oh, you'll be all right once you get out there, kid. Go on, get out there. The ladies love a soldier or a sailor, and many a man is made a hero by a sailor. But when it comes to the police, so to say that keep the peace, they're all of the finest in the land. Oh, there's nothing to find for the finest. Tell me when there's been men ever known who the lives would give that others might live with not a thought of failing their own. Yet there's nothing to find for the finest. Still the heart in this heart of mine was a million cuts that conquered the Dutch, and that's why you'll find them so fine. So there's nothing to find for the finest. Tell me You're a two Irish cops can lick any 40 wop.
And the tigers fight them.
Well, I went through that number in a daze. In fact, I didn't know much what was happening the rest of the evening until we got down to the finale, at the end of the show. Suddenly I came to, and I found myself standing in the wings, listening to the beautiful melody that Victor Herbert had written for my simple little lyric. That's the story of the first time I met and worked with Victor Herbert. And I feel a great deal of pride and pleasure in being able to present these personal reminiscences to you.
We will present to you a series of these intimate glimpses into the life of Victor Herbert, with Mr. Eddie Dowling acting as biographer. Your local station will announce the date of the next episode. This is Louis Reed announcing this presentation of famous artists of the air in their New York studio. Ladies and gentlemen, famous artists of the air at this time bring you another episode of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by his friend and sometime collaborator, Mr. Eddie Dowling. Famous artists feel very fortunate in securing the services of Mr. Dowling for these reminiscences, not only because of his intimate friendship with the great composer, but because of his inimitable style in recounting these personal anecdotes. And now it is my privilege to present Mr. Eddie Dowling.
Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you don't know that following the precedent set by most great artists, Victor Herbert died practically a poor man. To his immediate family, he left but a modest estate. To all humanity, he left a legacy that is priceless. His beautiful music. Victor Herbert should have been a rich man. Money meant nothing to him except as a means of providing comfort and happiness for others. He was the soul of generosity and kindness. Our friendship began in 1916 when I was 18 years old. I submitted some ideas to Mr. Herbert, and he allowed me to rewrite the book on a show of his called The Velvet Horse. I didn't see him after the show closed until 1918. I'd been home in Providence working on a play. Finally getting it in pretty good shape, I decided to try and induce Mr. Herbert to write the music for it. Well, it's needless to say that at that time, every author in America was filled with the same lofty ambition. But when you're 20 years old, you don't let a little thing like that discourage you. So one afternoon, a day or two later, I took the train to New York. And a half hour after arriving at the Grand Central Station, here I am, up at Mr. Herbert's, ringing the bell of the apartment. Hello, Victor.
Eddie. Well, laddie, where have you been? Did they tell you I've been looking for you?
No. I've been home working on a play. I thought I'd tell you about it and see if I could get you to write the music.
You couldn't have come at a better time, lad. I've got a play called The Girl in the Spotlight. It's in rehearsal now, and I want you to play a part in it.
I don't care about playing any part. What I'm interested in is this show of mine.
Of course you are, but I've got a fine part in this play, and I've been saving it for you, and I know you'll like it.
But I don't want to go into a show right now. I'd rather work on my play.
Now, no more argument from you. I'm going to work tonight and write you a grand, rollicking song. I'll be off with you, and be at rehearsal in the morning.
Well, sure enough, the next day found me at rehearsal. And true to his word, Victor Herbert turned out a marvelous song, a rollicking one for me. Perhaps this will sound familiar to you. If you're married already, then I've nothing to say. But it doesn't concern you. And it's too late anyway. But if you're single, then a word to the wise will suffice. So come hither, my brothers, while I give you advice. Catching young, freedom rough, tell them nothing. Let them know you're the one in command. Start them right, and you'll find you can train them. So they'll sit up and eat off your hand. Make them jump when you speak, and you have them. Treat them right, and you won't have them long. But catch them young, treat them rough, tell them nothing. And nothing can go wrong. Catch them young, treat them rough, tell them nothing. Let them know you're the one in command. Start them right, and you'll find you can train them. So they sit up and eat off your hand. Make them jump when you sing, and you'll have them. Treat them right, and you won't have them long. But catch them young, treat them rough, tell them nothing. And nothing can go wrong. A few weeks later, brought us to the opening night in Washington. Those soul-stirring days of 1918. Washington was a seething mass of office seekers. Soldiers, foreign diplomats, government workers, and the inevitable politicians. At 8:15 that night, the theater presented the most impressive scene I have ever witnessed. The house was crowded to capacity. The gorgeous gowns and the glittering jewels of the women harmonized with the picturesque uniforms of the men. And to bring it to a grand climax, a flag-bedecked box contained one of the greatest personalities of modern times. Our war president of glorious memory, Woodrow Wilson. And now our husbands over the end. The play is about to begin. Victor Herbert goes into the pit to conduct the orchestra. He receives a tremendous reception. He turns. He's bowing to the audience. There goes. He waves his baton and the overture is on. audience was very receptive. Now we come to the finale of the play, and the most inspiring scene I have ever witnessed. The prima donna and the tenor are just going into the closing number.
Had I known when I sat alone where a wonder like you could be, I declare I'd have had you there in my favorite chair with me. I'd have lost me without dreaming
Sure, he's leaving the pit now. He's going up on the stage.
Well, here comes Mr. Herbert now.
This way, Victor.
Do you think I ought to make a speech, Eddie?
They'll pull the house down if you don't. Go on. Get out there.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You're most kind. You all know we have a distinguished guest here this evening, and I want to take this opportunity to thank him in the name of the company and myself for the honor he's done us in coming here tonight. And now I call for 3 cheers for our president, Mr. Woodrow Wilson.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Mr. Herbert, and the members of your company for a very delightful evening. I believe a little entertainment now and then is a great tonic for everyone. And I hope your play continues to meet the same success it received this evening. Good night, and good luck to you all.
Well, that certainly was a night to remember. I sat up with Victor in the hotel for a couple of hours. When I said good night, he was in great spirits. Imagine my surprise when I walked into the dining room the following morning and found him sitting at a table with a newspaper spread before him and tears streaming down that great, big, kindly face. I went to him quickly, saying, "Victor, what's happened?"
Have you seen this newspaper?
No, did they give the show a bad notice?
It's nothing about the show, just me. It's the London Times. Look at that headline. Victor Herbert's music banned throughout the British Empire.
What have they done that for?
They say I'm pro-German.
Why, that's ridiculous.
Of course it is. Naturally, I have a great many friends in Germany. I was educated there from the time I left Dublin at 7 years of age until I was 21. But that doesn't mean I want the Kaiser to win the war.
Where did they get the idea that you're pro-German?
Because I'm not filled with black prejudice. War makes strange hatreds, lad. It's the old story of man's inhumanity to man. There's an old musician in this town who came to see me yesterday. He's been in this country for 20 years, but because he speaks with an accent and they know he was born in Germany, his old friends, the men he's worked with for years, now refuse to work with him, and he's prevented from making a living. Yet he's an American. So am I. And in proof of that, I have a son with the American Army in France now. At this very moment, he's out there someplace in no man's land. That's my answer to England.
Time is a great healer. And today, Victor Herbert's music is as popular in England as it is here. Prejudice, hatred, suspicion have passed away. And in its place has come honest homage to a true genius and a great man. Herbert,
You've just been listening to another episode of Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by Mr. Eddie Dowling. This is Louis Reed announcing the presentation of famous artists of the air in their New York studios. Ladies and gentlemen, by special arrangement with famous artists of the air, the sponsor of this program presents Mr. Eddie Dowling in another episode of his Reminiscences of Victor Herbert.
You would have asked any critic of the theater this question: what, in your opinion, was the greatest musical play ever produced in America? The answer undoubtedly would be the Ziegfeld Follies of 1919. What an aggregation of stars. Eddie Cantor, Marilyn Miller, Bert Williams, Ray Dooley, Johnny Dooley, Van and Schenck, John Steele, Delisle Alder, Lucille Chalfont, Mary Sayers, George Lemaire, and if you'll pardon the conceit of my humble self, I also add to that cast this list of composers: Irving Berlin, Dave Stamper, Gene Buck, McCarty, and Tidd. And then picture, the production supervised by that master showman, Clarence Ziegfeld, and you have what I consider the show of shows. Victor Herbert contributed music to several editions of the Follies. In fact, some of the ballet music to which Marilyn Miller danced so bewitchingly was written by the great composer. It was always a thrill to an opening night. The opening of the 1919 Follies held a succession of shows to me. I had achieved from the Follies. And to crown it all, my mother saw me on the stage that night for the first time. My mother's a little old-fashioned, white-haired Irish lady, who up to that time had never traveled more than 10 miles away from our home, which is just outside of Providence. On that eventful night, I was making up in my dressing room just before the show when the boy came and told me a lady wanted to see me in the green room. I put on a bathrobe and hurriedly went downstairs. Imagine my surprise when I found it was my mother.
Hello, Eddie, darling.
Why, Ma, I'm glad to see you. What are you doing here, sweetheart?
I wanted to see you on the stage. Your father and I were going to surprise you. But his rheumatism was so bad he couldn't make the trip. So I made up my mind to come alone.
Why didn't you let me know?
Sure, how could I surprise you if I did that? What kind of a place is this, anyway? That blackguard that sold the tickets told me they were all gone. Even when I told him you were my boy.
Well, if I'd known you were coming here, I'd have reserved one. Gosh, the show's going to start in a minute. I don't know how I'm going to get your ticket.
Ain't you the leading man?
No, I'm only playing a small part. But wait a minute, here comes Victor Herbert. Maybe he can do something for us. Hello, Victor.
How are you, my boy? I just dropped in to wish all of you luck and to invite you to a little party in my apartment after the show tonight.
Thanks, Victor. Hey, Victor, this is my mother. She's come all the way from Providence to see the show, and there isn't a ticket to be had. You think you can do something? Overture. And there goes the overture. What am I going to do?
Don't worry, lad. You come with me, Mrs. Dowling. They'll find a place for you, or I'll give you my own seat. Come right up to the apartment when the show's over ready. I'll take your mother up with me.
Thank you. Well, this little incident was typical of Victor Herbert. He was always at a friend's disposal, no matter what it was. No wonder anyone who came in contact with him loved him. Well, I finished dressing and got downstairs just as the overture was about over. I was worried about my mother and looked through the peephole in the curtain to see if I could locate her. Imagine my surprise. True to his word, Victor got her a seat all right down in the orchestra pit with the music. They put in an extra chair for her. And now they're playing just the end of the overture. Well, it soon came time for me to do my song. There goes the introduction of my number. As I walked out on the stage, my mother began to applaud for all she was worth. When the Sultan goes out on the spree, there he presents the harem key to me. Would you believe that every talking talkie envies me? For I've got the best job in Turkey. I'm the guy who guards the harem when the Sultan goes away. Hey, I'm a conscientious host, and my heart is in my work. Yeah, the Sultan tells me that I earn my pay. While he's gone, I keep them happy, and it keeps the wheels a-working in my knob. But if the Sultan ever saw the way I got his harem, he would go out and engage someone else and guard over me. I'm the guy who guards the harem, and I wouldn't take $1,000,000 for my job. He's the guy who guards the harem when the Sultan goes away. He's a conscientious church, and his heart is in his way. The Sultan tells him that he earns his pay. While he's gone, he keeps them happy, and it keeps the wheels a-working in his drum. Oh, but if the Sultan never saw the way I got his hair, I know that he would go out and get somebody else to stand guard over me. He's the guy who got the harem, and he wouldn't take $1,000,000 for his job. Well, after I finished, my mother applauded so long, I was afraid that she'd break up the show. The audience must have guessed who she was and helped her out, because I did more encores that night than I ever did after. And now we come to the scene and a song that is the talk of the show, Mandy, and it was sung by that great little artist, Miss Ray Dooley. First it was sung by some girls as a background for tap dance, and then Miss Dooley entered down a long flight of stairs dressed as a 7-year-old child singing the song. Responded to that number, and the rest of the show left no doubt in anyone's mind as to its success. After the final curtain, I went to my hotel I was living at and gave the room to my mother, and then I hurried up to Mr. Herbert. The party was in full swing when I arrived, and the names of his guests, well, read like a page out of Who's Who in America. I was afraid my mother would be uncomfortable among so many strange people, and it gave me quite a surprise when I walked in to find her chatting away with Victor as though she'd known him all her life. I went over to ask her how she liked the performance. How'd you like the show, Ma?
It was pretty good. Ah, but you were the best one.
Oh, now, wait a minute. You don't mean I was better than Eddie Tanner and Bert Williams and Johnny Dooley and those big stars.
Indeed, I do. I want to warn you, Eddie. I didn't like that brazen thing that kept following you around, making eyes and trying to flirt with you. Let's keep away from that one.
Oh, that's only make-believe in the show, Ma. She's a nice girl off stage.
Easy now. Well, take my advice. Where there's so much smoke, there's bound to be a little fire.
Don't worry, Mrs. Dowling. I'll keep an eye on Eddie and see that he's a good boy.
Ah, Eddie's a fine boy, Mr. Herbert. He sends me $100 every week. And if you're half as good to your mother, someday you may be as big a man as he is.
That'll be fine, Mrs. Dowling. And now I'm going to introduce you to the man who produced the play you saw tonight, Mr. Ziegfeld. Oh, Flo.
Yes, what is it?
I want you to meet Eddie Dowling's mother. This is Mr. Ziegfeld.
Well, how do you do, Mrs. Dowling? How did you like the show, Mrs. Dowling?
I was just telling Mr. Herbert. I don't see what you need all those people for. If you took some of them out, you could give my Eddie more to do.
Well, it's a little too late for that now, Mrs. Dowling. However, I'll think of that for next season. I'm even going to try to get Mr. Herbert to write some songs for me then.
I've got one already, and I think you'll like it.
Well, you got an orchestra here, and there's plenty of good voices. Why not try it out now?
Indeed, I will. Excuse me a moment.
He's a fine boy, that Mr. Herbert, Eddie. And if he ever comes to Providence, tell him to be sure and come and see me. And you can come too, Mr. Ziegfeld.
I certainly will, Mrs. Dowling.
I'll tell you how to get to the house. You take a trolley from the station.
Now, wait a minute, Ma. Mr. Ziegfeld won't be there for some time, and they're going to play one of Mr. Herbert's songs. Listen like a good girl. Needless to say, Mr. Ziegfeld took the song. It was sung in the 1920 Follies and became very popular. I'll never forget Victor for his kindness and his understanding of my mother. She had a great time at the party, and to this day, you know, she never tires boasting of her friendship with the great composer. But my mother wasn't alone in that. Everyone who was fortunate enough to know him was proud of his son. Certainly no one was ever more popular than the same lovable, musical genius.
This is Louis Reed announcing this program of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by Eddie Dowling, a production of famous artists of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, by special arrangement with famous artists of the year, the sponsor of this program presents Mr. Eddie Dowling in another episode of his Reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Mr. Dowling.
It's a well-known fact that nearly all the great figures of history were possessors of great personal magnetism, that indefinable something that drew people to him. Victor Herbert possessed it to a great degree. He made friends quicker and held them longer than any man I ever knew. He had a personality that you instinctively took to. His round, jovial face and twinkling eyes were a guarantee of perpetual good humor. No one enjoyed a joke more. Gosh, I don't know if anybody could tell a story better. Consequently, he was very much sought after and was invariably the central figure of any gathering. People used to boast of their acquaintance with the great composer. Apropos of this, a rather amusing incident happened to me around 1920. A friend of mine from Providence, Mr. Ed Fay, who controlled a string of theaters through New England, came to see me while on a visit to New York. Mr. Fay had known me as a kid in Providence and really gave me my start as an actor. I thought it'd be a nice thing to introduce him to Mr. Herbert, and incidentally try to make him think I was getting to be a big shot myself. So after the show that night, I took Ed myself and told him I was going to introduce him to one of the greatest men in New York. I didn't tell him who it was. That was to be my big surprise. As luck would have it, I couldn't find Victor anywhere. My friend began to think, I guess, that I was playing some kind of a joke on him. I finally gave up his despair and took Ed to a restaurant which was quite famous in those days, both for its food and its entertainment. As we entered, the orchestra was playing one of Mr. Herbert's numbers, which was very popular at that time. The orchestra was finishing the selection, I saw Victor enter and look around for a secluded table. I excused myself to Ed and immediately went to him. Oh, Victor.
Hello, my boy. I was just looking around for a friendly face.
Come over to my table, won't you? I have a friend I want you to meet.
Right you are. Lead the way, lad. Who is your friend?
Oh, he's a friend of mine from my hometown, Providence. He's an awfully nice fellow, and I know he'll get a big kick out of meeting you. Here we are. Victor, this is a friend of mine.
Hello there, Eddie Fay.
How are you, Victor? Say, do you two know each other?
Know each other? Why, we played in the same orchestra years ago, before he became a bloated theater owner.
Why didn't you tell me who you wanted me to meet? He's had me in and out of every restaurant on Broadway looking for you, Victor.
Well, I guess the last on me, Ed. I sure thought I'd make those eyes of yours pop out when you found me hobnobbing with the great Victor Herbert. Now you know him longer than I do.
Your intentions were all right, lad. Anyway, I'm obliged to you for meeting an old friend again. And we're just in time for the show. I want to hear this boy that's going to sing. I may use him.
Isn't that one of your songs?
Yes, it's Gypsy Love Song from the Fortune Teller.
For your safety time.
Very well done. And now, Eddie Fay, what have you been doing with yourself?
Well, I've opened up a few theaters, but I haven't become as famous as you.
But I'll bet you've made more money. Being famous has its drawbacks.
Excuse me for intruding, Mr. Herbert, but if you look over there at that table, you'll see a little old lady. She's my mother, and she says that she remembers you when you played in the court orchestra in Stuttgart, Germany.
Bless my soul, you don't say so. Why, that's over 35 years ago.
And she told me to tell you that she goes to see all your plays, but she regrets that she's never been able to hear you play the cello again.
Well, she's going to hear me right now. That is, if I can get the cellist in the orchestra to lend me his instrument. You tell your mother this is a special compliment to her. Excuse me, boys.
Does he have to do this often?
Oh, everywhere he goes, he's constantly being called on to leave the orchestra or do something.
That must be what he meant when he said being famous has its drawbacks.
Oh, but he's awfully good-natured about it all. We're going to make an announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to announce a very unusual feature. The distinguished composer, Mr. Victor Herbert, is going to play a cello solo accompanied by the orchestra as a tribute to an old friend.
You haven't lost your touch, Victor.
I never heard you play better than you did tonight.
This was a special occasion. It carried me back a great many years.
Germany?
Yes, to Germany. And that song we heard a while ago brought back memories.
Someone you knew there?
Yes, a girl with a glorious voice. She was with the opera company.
This sounds interesting.
You in love with her?
The whole town was. She was a very pretty girl, and as sweet as she was beautiful.
Well, go on. Tell us about her.
Why, I was just a struggling musician. She was a member of the company, and a very fine organization it was. The Germans are great lovers of music. I can picture it just as plainly as though it happened tonight. The house was crowded. The opera was Carmen. The curtain had been up for a short time when she came on, a vision in white. Then she began to sing. forever.
Victor was truly in a reminiscent mood that night. I never found him quite so mellow. Sometime later, he told me that the girl he had fallen in love with had a chance to come to America to join the Metropolitan Opera Company. In order that they wouldn't be separated, they were married. They came to America together. After arriving, Victor was engaged as cello soloist with the Metropolitan Opera House Orchestra. Victor's own life would have made a far more interesting romance than any of his operettas.
This is Louis Reed announcing this program of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert as told by Eddie Dowling, a production of famous artists of the air. Ladies and gentlemen, by special arrangement with famous artists of the air, the sponsor of this program presents Mr. Eddie Dowling in another episode of his Reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Mr. Eddie Dowling.
The late Andrew Carnegie once was credited with saying that his idea of heaven was to be able to listen to all the music by Victor Herbert that he wanted to. What a wonderful tribute. The remarkable thing about Victor Herbert was that he only began to write at the time that most men begin to think of retiring. Just imagine. He was 35 years of age when he wrote his first operetta, which was called Prince Ananias. When he died in 1924, he had written upwards of 50 operettas, 2 grand operas, a great many instrumental pieces, and had been called in on numerous occasions by producers to bolster up the musical score of other composers. He was a tireless worker, a human dynamo, impulsive, romantic, and sympathetic. His gift for making friends was as great as his talent for writing music. The fact of his Irish birth and German education accounted for his peculiar accent, which was a mixture of German and Irish. With the Irish, he for short, getting the upper hand. He always returned a deep affection for Ireland, and especially old Irish music. We had become such close friends that scarcely a day passed that I didn't see him, except perhaps when he was writing or rehearsing a new play, in which case I would tactfully stay away until he sent for me. During the season of 1916, I hadn't seen him for some time. He was in the final rehearsals of Prince's Pat. One afternoon, on returning to my hotel, I found a message from Victor asking me to drop in at his theater. I lost no time getting there, and as I entered the theater, the tenor and the prima donna were preparing to sing their big number. So I sat down in the last row to listen.
Love,
children, that's fine. Now let's take that ensemble.
I wish I was an island in the Nordland, surrounded by the forest I could see. But like a little wave they say that kiss the shore and run away. So I'm so and a melody between the sun and then another comes a slipping along. Oh, baby, I can sing your ranking bird. And Christmas Father born and raised his wife and kisses on your face. For an island far from there. I was done for.
Life is but a dance. Pass the time with laughter and song. To be there with a merry smile. And the world going on.
Now we'll rest a while. Who's that sitting back there?
Eddie Dowling, Victor.
Hello, Eddie, my boy. Where have you been hiding yourself? I don't suppose I'd ever see you if I didn't send for you.
Oh, you know better than that. I just didn't want to bother you while you were rehearsing.
I'm never too busy to see a friend. How'd you like to drop in to see me after the show tonight?
Oh, that'll be fine.
I'll expect you.
I'll be there.
Excuse me now, I've got to get back to this rehearsal.
Sure. Needless to say, I took advantage of his invitation. On arriving that night at his apartment, I was surprised to hear the strains of an accordion coming through the door.
Come in. How are you, Eddie? Come in, my boy.
Hello, Victor. Don't let me interrupt the concert.
That's all right, lad. I'm glad you came. I want you to meet two old friends of mine, Joe and Mickey Flanagan. This is Eddie Dowling, boys.
Hello, Joe. Hello, Mickey. How are you?
You know the rest of the boys, Eddie.
That chorus over there, I know every one of them, too.
Have you ever been to Ireland, Eddie?
Not yet.
Well, these lads will bring back a breath of old Ireland to you. Go on, boys. I tell you, that's the music to make your blood tingle, laddie. There's something wild and romantic about it, like Ireland herself.
What part of Ireland were you born in, Victor?
I was born in Dublin in 1859. My grandfather was Samuel Lover, a well-known Irish novelist. He wanted me to be a doctor, but from the time I was able to talk, I showed such a passion for music that my mother, God rest her soul, decided I was going to be a musician. So, at the age of 7, off I went to Germany to begin my musical education.
It must have been quite a change from Ireland.
Indeed it was. Everything was different. The music, the people, the customs. but I grew to like it all, including the beer.
Not at the age of 7.
No, that came later.
Weren't you homesick for the old country?
Naturally, but only for a short time. I soon became so engrossed in my studies I didn't have time for anything else.
Let's see, you must have been in Germany during the Franco-Prussian War of 1870.
Indeed I was. Many a time I saw Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, and the Kaiser, who was just a lad like myself at the time.
How did you take to the German music?
Like a duck to water. But then I was born with a love of all music. My mother loved it. My first recollection of song was an old camalie she used to sing to me. It went like this.
Oh, I know that. Gosh, my grandmother used to sing it. I even know the words of it. Listen, is this it? Whenever you go to Cincinnati, you look to the hole in the wall, you get your eggs two for a penny, and your butter for nothing at all.
That's it. Many a night I've gone to sleep to the strains of that melody.
You had an Irish song in Eileen that I love.
You mean Thine Alone?
That's it. Won't you play it again first on your cello, Victor?
All right. See if you can follow the swing of it.
Night could not have been more wonderful than the nights were to me that I spent in Victor Herbert's company. His life had been so colorful, his experience so varied, and with a never-ending source of interest. He was always kindly, always in good humor, always a perfect gentleman. But best of all, he was always a true friend.
This is Louis Reed announcing this program of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by Eddie Dowling, a production of Famous Artists of the Air.
Continuing his biography of Victor Herbert, Eddie Dowling takes pleasure in presenting a lady who was a great musical comedy favorite some years ago, Miss Bessie Wynn. Miss Wynn was closely associated with Mr. Herbert over a number of years, having appeared in a great many of his early operettas. She was a popular star in her day, not only on the legitimate stage, but in vaudeville, where she headlined on the Keith circuit for many seasons. I'm sure Miss Wynn's personal reminiscences of the famous composer will be of great interest to you, Miss Bessie Wynn.
It must be 30 years since I first met Victor Herbert, yet I can remember it as vividly as though it happened yesterday. I was about 16 and wanted to go on the stage. During one of his concert tours, Victor Herbert played my hometown, Adrian, Michigan. My singing teacher knew Mr. Herbert and arranged an interview. Of course, I was tremendously awed when confronted by the great composer, but the charm and the wonderful personality put me so at ease that I not only told him of my stage aspirations, but gave him a sample of my singing voice. Before he left, he gave me a letter to Mr. B.C. Whitney, manager of the Whitney Opera Company, whose headquarters were in Chicago. That letter started me on my stage career. I was engaged by Mr. Whitney and played in his company 2 years. Then I decided I'd try my luck in New York. On arriving, I learned that Mr. Victor Herbert was engaging his company for what was to become one of his most and greatest successes, Babes in Toyland. I didn't suppose he'd remember me, but he did. He gave me the part of the boy, Tom Tom. If you saw the show, you remember Tom Tom was the apprentice to the old toy maker. An awfully sweet part. Well, the rehearsal period flew by, and I was living in a world of enchantment. But the day before the opening, a very tragic note was sounded. Mark Smith, who played the old toy maker, died suddenly. Naturally, it cast a gloom over everyone, but the show had to go on. Mr. Herbert gave me a song that was to have been sung by Mr. Smith. We had a quick rehearsal the day of the opening, but the orchestra was so big and my voice so light I couldn't be heard. I appealed to Mr. Herbert. Mr. Herbert, can't you make the orchestra play a little softer?
You must give it more voice, child.
But I can't. Couldn't you cut out some of the brass?
And ruin the orchestration? You must sing louder.
That's impossible. Besides, I don't think it'll be quite so effective.
Perhaps you know better than I do.
With that, he threw down his baton and left the orchestra pit. Of course, everyone was surprised at this outburst of temperament. I was mortified because the whole company was watching. But most of all, I was heartbroken to think I had offended Mr. Herbert. However, I didn't have time to grieve over my troubles, as it was nearly 6 o'clock and the show was to begin at 8:15. That night, the theater was crowded to capacity. Even through the heavy curtains, the hum of the audience voices could be heard. Now the orchestra begins to tune up. There is a breathless moment of expectancy. When the time came for me to sing my new song, The scene was a toy shop. I was to be discovered on the platform with a huge white rocking horse. I had to run out and take my place in the dock. In doing so, I stumbled over a piece of scenery and cut my leg. Between the pain and my nervousness, the tears were streaming down my face when the lights came up. Mr. Herbert had softened the orchestra so much that they were almost through the introduction before I realized they were playing at all. I felt frozen all over. Then I happened to look down in the pit and saw Victor Herbert smiling up at me. He nodded his head and gave me an encouraging wink. That brought back my courage, and I forgot everything but the song. And are going to die. You'll often wonder on that I was playing. The show was going beautifully. In all my life, I never experienced the thrill of that opening night. And now, we come to one of the most beautiful numbers of the show, Floretta.
I am a Romany rye, a thin right of the I dabble in magic, both comic and tragic, of which I have been from my childhood. Floretta, the gypsy am I, the master of the future, as you will try, your fortune I'll read from your chromatic land. They notice I have fought the lesson at hand.
The audience demanded encore after encore. At last we came to the finale.
What is nothing, dear?
You must really say.
I am watching here. That cannot be. Jesus, cypress tree.
weren't on the stage until after the curtain fell. But Mr. Herbert wanted to say something. A few minutes later, he came up and addressed us.
I just wish to thank you, children, for the splendid performance you gave. And now, where's Bessie Williams?
Here I am, Mr. Herbert.
Well, what's the matter, child? What are you crying for?
I feel terrible to think I offended you.
When?
This afternoon, when you threw down your baton and left the pit.
Bless your heart. I wasn't offended. I realized you were right about the music, so I ran out to change it, that's all. I know you're all tired, so run along and get a good night's rest. And God bless all of you.
A good many years have passed since that night, but the tears still come to my eyes when I think of it. No one but a Victor Herbert would have been big enough to act as he did about my song. But it takes a big man to admit he's wrong, and he was a big man, mentally as well as musically.
You have just heard another of the personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Your local sponsor will inform you of the date of the next program in this series. This is Leland Lee announcing. This program was conceived and produced by famous artists of the air. In this series of the personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert, Eddie Dowling, as biographer, takes pleasure in introducing Mr. Carl Behrens, the well-known violinist and composer. Mr. Behrens was a boyhood friend of Victor Herbert in Germany, both having received their musical education from the same masters. Mr. Behrens, in later years, renewed their friendship and tells you in this interesting episode how it came about. I take great pleasure in presenting Mr. Carl Behrens.
Victor Herbert. What ghosts of the past. What memories that name brings before me. Memories of a little Irish boy in Germany who used to take long walks with a German boy and predict great futures for both. The Irish boy was Victor Herbert and the German boy myself. We were both studying music, so we had a common ground to start on. But I couldn't keep pace with him. We were together constantly as we grew older until he left for America in 1886. From that time, I didn't see or hear from him until I came here in 1899. I had been in New York only a week when I was sent by a musical exchange to replace the violinist who had been rehearsing with the orchestra of a musical play that was about to open. Imagine my surprise when I learned the composer of the play was my old comrade, Victor Herbert. I hurried to the theater. It was the final rehearsal of The Fortune Teller, and the show was to open in Montreal 2 days later. On my way over, I couldn't help wondering if Victor had changed, if he'd be glad to renew our friendship. It was 12 years since I'd seen him, and now he was getting to be quite famous, while I was still an obscure musician. As I entered the theater, the first thing I heard was Victor's voice.
All right, boys, let's try and get through as quickly as possible. I'm just going to run through a few of the numbers. Where's that violinist they were going to send over?
I just called him. He said he was on his way.
He must be coming from Europe.
Right you are, Victor. All the way from Germany.
Who's that? Come down in the light where I can see you. Carl, my old comrade. Am I dreaming, or is it really you? Let me touch you. Yes, the same old Carl. God bless you. Sit down there and get that fiddle of yours busy. We'll have a long talk after rehearsal. All right, boys, let's get to work. We'll take always do as people say you should. Are you ready?
My age is grandma told me, and I've read the same book, that it doesn't matter what a girl may wear or how she looks. She never should be frivolous. She never should be bold. My grandma said my darling, always do as you are told. When grandma said don't touch the jam, I minded her request. I did not care a bit for jam. I liked the jelly best. She comes to let me, she said, or I will have it cold. And I was always there, you see. I did as I was told.
give the singers a rest for a few minutes. Ready, boys? This is the overture. Keep that tempo. Now we'll take the Gypsy Love Song. Stand by, everybody, for the ensemble. Ready.
The birds of the forest are calling for thee, and the shades of the stage are calling. Summer is there with hot blossoms fair, and you are asking for me. No bird that nests in a greenwood tree, but sighs to greet you and kiss you. All the while it's yearn for your safe return, but most of all, I miss you. My little gypsy love, dream of a field and a grove. Can you hear me in the dreamland where your fancies rove? Land
That's all, children. Run along and don't forget what time your train leaves. Now, Carl, old friend, how's all the family?
They are fine. And won't they be surprised when I write and tell them that I am playing in your orchestra? Oh, by the way, when do we leave for Montreal?
The company leaves tonight, but I'm not going till tomorrow afternoon, and you're going with me. Now I've got to run to another rehearsal.
For another show?
One of the greatest you ever saw. There's to be a big parade tomorrow to welcome Admiral Dewey home, and I'm the bandmaster for the 22nd Regiment. By the way, do you still play the clarinet?
Yes, I've kept that up along with my violin.
Good. I'm going to augment my band for tomorrow with some special men. Come to the rehearsal with me. You're going to march with us. I'm going to give you the biggest thrill you ever had.
Victor was right. I did get a tremendous thrill. All New York, as well as thousands from all over the country, turned out the next day to pay homage to Admiral Dewey. He was returning from his magnificent naval victory in the war with Spain. A big triumphal arch had been erected through which the parade passed. The Admiral was in a carriage. We had reached the reviewing stand, and Victor's band was playing a march he had written and dedicated to the Admiral when Dewey came in front of the stand.
There he is, Carl. The carriage is stopping. He's standing up. He's going to make a speech.
I don't know what to say. I'll just thank you for this wonderful demonstration. It's worth all of the dangers we've been through to come home to such a glorious welcome. But I feel the place of honor doesn't belong to me today, but rather to those brave comrades we were forced to leave behind, who died so gloriously for this great country of ours. And while we cannot see them, I feel they are with us in spirit, and their souls know the gratitude we would like to express to them. So I'll ask you to join with me in a silent prayer for those brave hearts who made the great sacrifice. I thank you.
I've never felt anything so stirring. Both Victor and I were crying like babies when Dewey finished. In fact, everyone in that vast crowd was doing the same. The fortune teller opened in Montreal the following night. It became a tremendous success, and Victor was given a great ovation. But I don't believe he ever got the thrill out of anything that he got in leading the old 22nd Regiment band at the Dewey Parade.
You have just heard another of the personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Your sponsor will inform you of the date of the next program in this series. This is Leland Lee announcing. This program was conceived and produced by famous artists of the air. Dowling, the biographer of these personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert, feels that this series would not be complete without introducing Mr. Harold Sanford, the well-known musical conductor. Mr. Sanford was intimately associated with Victor Herbert over a period of 18 years, having been his concert master and arranger for a great many of Mr. Herbert's most successful operettas. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure to present Mr. Harold Sanford.
I never think of Victor Herbert or hear his name mentioned that my mind doesn't go back to the first night we met. I was pretty young, very hungry, and terribly discouraged. I was a musician and had come to New York from Boston with nothing but my violin and a determination to make New York sit up and take notice. After 8 weeks, I found that while New York was sitting up, it certainly hadn't taken any notice. But my landlord had. One day he noticed that I hadn't paid my bill for 3 weeks. He put me out and kept all my belongings except my violin. There wasn't a soul I could borrow from in New York, and I couldn't write home for money because they didn't have any too much for themselves. After wandering around all day, I was pretty desperate. To add to my misery, toward evening, a cold, blustery rain set in. About 10 that night, I had taken shelter in the doorway next to the lamp club when a taxi drew up. A tall, heavy-set man got out with a big bundle of music under his arm. While he was paying the driver, the music fell from his arm and the wind started to do all sorts of tricks with it. It scattered in all directions. I recognized Victor Herbert from his pictures and immediately set to work to gather up his music sheets. Finally, I got them all and handed them to him, soaking wet.
Oh, thanks very much.
I'm afraid they're pretty well ruined, Mr. Herbert.
I should say they are. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I have a new play opening tomorrow night and a rehearsal in the morning.
Well, I'm a pretty good musician. I could copy those parts tonight and have them ready by morning.
You could, eh? Why, what have you been doing, my boy? Why, your clothes are soaking wet.
Well, I've been walking around a lot.
Where are you working?
I'm not working right now.
Where are you living?
Well,
Tell me the truth, my boy. Don't be afraid.
Well, I'm not living anywhere. I was put out of my room this morning. I've been out of work since I came to New York.
I thought so. Well, I've got to have that work done right away, so I'm going to take a chance on you. I'll get your room here at the club tonight. Copy that music and be at the Criterion Theater at 10 in the morning. First, let's have something to eat. You'll feel better with a good meal under your belt.
After eating, I felt better. We got in the room, and I worked all night on the music. The show was The Tattooed Man, and became one of his big hits. I was at the theater before 10, and he was there waiting for me.
Did you finish that music?
Yes, sir, here it is.
Good boy. That's a fine, neat-looking job. If you can play the violin as well as you write, you ought to be a good musician. Take your fiddle out and get in that orchestra.
Well, I got through the rehearsal all right, and he engaged me. From that time on, I was with Victor Herbert in every show he wrote. But 1910 was a bad year for me. My bank account was very low when I received a call from Victor, telling me to report to the New York Theater for a new production, which turned out to be the highly successful Naughty Marietta. We went through the usual long rehearsal period, but I didn't mind because the music was so beautiful. One song in particular was a favorite of mine. It was the forerunner of this type of number. Perhaps you'll remember it.
We hunt for the wolf in the forest. We raided the pirates at sea. We handle and then we were out for adventure as anyone plainly can see. We smoked the pipe with the matches. We fought with the sight wild and free. We've laughed at all danger. We're known as the Rangers, and it makes my good comrade and me. Tramp along the highway, tramp through the streets, blazing trails along the byway, with the blood are we. Clear the roadway, room, o'er the sea, with lances and guns, Virginians and Kentuckians, standing on infantry,
Just about used up the last of my money getting through the long weeks of preparation. And the opening night, on arriving at the theater, I found a wire waiting, telling me that my sister had been hurt and to come home at once. The telegram upset me terribly. This urgent message made me fear the worst. I couldn't get a train for midnight and had no money to go anyway. It was time for the overture, and all I could think of was my sister. The theater was jammed, and the audience was a very distinguished one. In a moment, Mr. Herbert came into the pit. The audience recognized him and greeted him enthusiastically. Worried about my sister, I went through the overture in a daze. Soon Orville Harold was singing a song which is still famous.
My heart is acting strangely, it feels rather cold. At least it gives me that impression. My pulses beat madly without any cause. Believe me, I'm telling you truly. I'm gay without cause, then sad without cause. My spirits are truly unruly. Oh, I'm falling in love with someone. I'm falling in love with
I was so upset that it showed in my work. After the first act, Mr. Herbert called me out of the pit.
What's the matter with you, my boy? You never played like that before.
Well, I've had a telegram from home about my sister, and I'm afraid that
I'm sorry, lad. Where's your home? Can you get there tonight?
it's in Northampton. I could get a train at midnight, but I haven't money enough to go.
Don't worry, my boy. As soon as the show's over, I'll give you enough money to see you through. Get on that train and go home. Stay with your sister as long as necessary, and your job will be waiting for you when you come back. Brace up now. We've got to go on with the show.
That talk certainly cheered me up. I was able to get through the rest of the performance without making any mistakes. And at last we came to Madame Santini's big number and the finale of the show. Glad to say that my sister recovered. And in a few days, I was able to return and take up my job. From that opening night, Victor Herbert was my idol. I was with him in every play he did after that. And to this day, I mentally thank that landlord for putting me out. He didn't realize it, but he was thrusting me into the arms of good fortune. Victor Herbert.
You have just heard another of the personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Your sponsor will inform you of the date of the next program in this series. This is Leland Lee announcing. This program was conceived and produced by famous artists of the air. Continuing the personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert, Eddie Dowling as biographer again presents Mr. Harold Sanford, the well-known musical conductor. Mr. Sanford's contribution to this series is especially interesting because of his intimate association with the great composer. I take great pleasure in introducing Mr. Harold Sanford.
The early efforts of nearly all great artists very seldom bring forth any praise until they become famous. The same holds true of Victor Herbert. His earliest compositions he submitted to a well-known publisher only to have them rejected. Later, they not only published these same songs, but were glad to take anything he wrote. In fact, in his later years, Victor Herbert reached that enviable position where a producer or publisher would accept almost anything he composed without reading it. Despite the fact that he wrote upwards of 58 operettas, it has been estimated that he averaged only about $25,000 in his best years, which would be considered a mere pittance to the average popular songwriter of the present day. I was with Mr. Herbert constantly over the period of 18 years as his concertmaster and arranger. Consequently, I knew him very intimately. One of his finest qualities was an intense love for children. A striking example of this occurred when we were about to open with a new production called The Only Girl. Several days before the opening, we were leaving the theater after a rather strenuous rehearsal. At the stage door, we were surprised to find a little boy of about 5. He was ragged and dirty, but had the cutest face I ever saw. Herbert immediately engaged him in conversation.
Well, what are you doing here?
Listen to music.
Is that so? And how do you like it?
Fine. Ever gonna play anymore?
Not today, Johnny.
My name is Johnny. My name is William.
Oh, excuse me, Willie.
No, William. William is for little boys.
Oh, I see. And you're a great big boy. Well, William, what would you do if I gave you a nice new nickel?
Buy ice cream cone?
Well, there you are. Come and see me again.
All right.
From then on, he'd be waiting when we got to the theater. Victor became interested in the boy and tried to learn something of his parents. The result wasn't cheerful. He lived over on 9th Avenue. The mother was dead and the father was a worthless drunkard. The day of the opening, we had a fine rehearsal, and on arriving at the stage door in the morning, there was William with a large red apple which he extended to Victor.
Hello, Mr. Herbert.
Good morning, William. What's this?
Apple?
And where did you get such a nice red apple?
A lady gives it to me, and I send it to you.
Bless your heart, child. You eat it yourself.
No, it's for you.
But I couldn't eat such a great big apple.
Could you have?
I might do that, but I couldn't right now.
I save it till you come out, huh?
All right, boy. But you eat your half now.
All right.
We went into the theater and soon forgot about William and the apple. We didn't finish rehearsals till nearly 7 that night. Then we had to eat dinner and dress in a hurry. To save time, we left through the front of the theater and returned the same way. It was a typical Herbert opening, which meant a distinguished, enthusiastic audience. As song followed song, the audience became more enthused. Soon we came to one of the outstanding numbers.
Coffee the soldier lad from Boston to war.
Although he has no idea what it is for.
With flags and banners flying,
Our crowds are crying, it's hurrah!
we'll bravely rush into the thick of the fray.
Although he'd rather rush the opposite way.
With victory still his motto,
He might be what he's got to.
when bugle sounds the call to arms. Here's to the land we love, boys, home of the brave and free.
While our flags proudly waving up above the boys.
We will never bow the neck of enemy. help forever for the land we love.
During the intermission, Victor and I stepped outside the stage door to smoke and get a breath of air. The first thing we saw was little William propped up in a doorway alongside, sound asleep, with half of the apple clenched in his little fist. Victor picked him up in his arms.
Why, child, what are you doing here?
I was waiting for you.
But why didn't you go home? It's very late.
Because I promised to kill the apples for you. But you didn't come out.
I'm sorry, William. I forgot all about you. Have you been here all the time?
I was afraid I'd miss you if I went away.
Well, you must be starving hungry. Wouldn't you like something to eat, son?
No, because my throat hurts.
Good heavens, Harry. The child is burning up with fever. Open that stage door till I carry him inside.
Once inside, Victor made them hold the curtain until he could get a doctor, a friend of his who was watching the performance. The doctor found the child was suffering from tonsillitis and lack of food. He advised sending the boy to the hospital. But when they tried to take William away, he cried so pathetically that Victor took him down to the musician's room and laid him on a couch, intending him to take him to the hospital himself after the performance. So he lost no time in starting the introduction to the next act. I could see Victor's mind was more on the sick boy than on his music. I don't think he even realized what he was doing until we had nearly finished the next number, which was one of the big comedy hits of the season.
From their married friends' experience, they just kick their heads into the news like a silly sentimental rule. Each one thinks the other man a fool. Neither one exception to the rule. He says, I'll be happy when I'm wed. Later on, he makes it when I'm dead. Oh, when you got the ball and chain around your ankles, and the empty hearted sailor is your wife, there's a virtue in repentance. You have got to serve the sentence which is made for heart or life. You've a number and you bet your wife has got it. Any hope of a reprieve is all in vain. Matrimony is the time for which you got to do in time, while your angel wears a ball and chain.
After that number, Victor slipped down to the music room to have a look at William. It was almost time for the last number when he came back. I leaned over and whispered to him, "How's the boy, Victor?"
He's curled up like a little brown bear, fast asleep. Just imagine that poor little mite sitting out there all day waiting for me. If anything happened to him now... Listen, Harry, you take care of the rest of the show. I'm going to take him to the hospital while he's still asleep.
that night why Victor Herbert didn't respond. This was one of his greatest triumphs. The cast took curtain call after curtain call, and all the time there was an insistent cry for Herbert. But the big, kind-hearted composer was at the hospital, concerned only with his poor little sick friend. The boy stayed there for several weeks, during which Victor paid all his expenses. Later, one of the ladies in the company became interested in William and adopted him legally. Today, he's a fine young man. He's had a good musical education, and someday hopes to follow in the footsteps of his idol, Victor Herbert.
You have just heard another of the personal reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Your sponsor will inform you of the date of the next program in this series. This is Leland Lee announcing. This program was conceived and produced by famous artists of the air. Herbert, Eddie Dowling takes pleasure in presenting Mr. Hal Skelly, the well-known star of stage and screen. You will remember Mr. Skelly because of his success in the great stage play Burlesque, or the screen adaptation Dance of Life, also Behind the Makeup and numerous others. Mr. Skelly's intimate friendship with Victor Herbert enables him to give some very interesting reminiscences of the great composer. I take pleasure in introducing Mr. Hal Skelly.
Victor Herbert, the immortal Victor Herbert. To prove the truth of this statement, it is only necessary to watch the audience trained to present jazz age react to his melody. He has taught the musically untrained the difference between music of the day and music of all time. As a composer, he was in a class by himself. I'll confess now, with considerable shame, that I had to be bribed to watch my first Herbert opera. I was a young boy, and my taste ran to strong melodrama. An aunt of mine, after a lot of coaxing, persuaded me to attend a performance of Mademoiselle Modiste. And I'll never forget the thrill I got when the orchestra played this marvelous overture. From that moment, I was another Herbert fan. And I made a special point of hearing everything he wrote. In 1923, I was engaged to play in a show of Victor's called Orange Blossom. One day at rehearsal, during a rest period, we were talking, and I said, Victor, what do you consider the most successful show you've ever written?
Well, now, that's hard to say. The one people probably remember best is Mademoiselle Modiste.
I certainly remember it. That was the first musical play I ever saw.
Do you know, one of the most popular songs I ever wrote was in that show.
Yes?
And came very near being left out.
Well, how's that?
Why, this particular song didn't impress Miss Fritzie Sheff at all. She didn't think it was any good and wasn't keen about singing it. In fact, the general opinion of everyone connected with the production was that it wouldn't do. We went on the road for a preliminary tour of a couple of months before coming into New York. After a few performances, Miss Sheff asked me to take the number out as it wasn't getting any results, which I did.
Well, what was the name of the song?
I'll tell you in a minute. A day or so before we opened in New York, Miss Sheff said she had had a change of heart about the number and wanted it put back. But by this time, I was pretty well convinced it was no good and hesitated. Finally, she won me over, and the opening night in New York it was put in.
How did it go, Vicky?
I'm coming to that. I remember that night as well as though it were happening right now. I was very nervous because the success or failure of that song meant a great deal to the play. My nervousness had brought on a violent headache, so much so that I could hardly see William Pruitt when he sang this number.
So food may break up the marriage state and the evils of bachelor life. I'm happier far than the married men are who are cursed with the screw of a wife. I drink my fill if I have the will with friends who are tried and old. And oft when the company's good, I stay. I may not come home till the break of day, but if dinner is waiting and I am away, there is no one to nag me or scold. For I want what I want when I want it, and that's all that makes life worth the while. For the wine that tonight fills my soul with delight, on the morrow may seem to me vile. There's no worldly pleasure myself I deny. There's no one to ask me the wherefore or why. I eat when I'm hungry, and drink when I'm dry. For I want what I want when I want it. I want what I want when I want it. For we want what we want when we want it. That's all that makes life worth the while. For the wine that tonight fills my soul with delight, on the morrow may seem to be vile. There's no worldly pleasure myself I deny. There's no one to ask me for wherefore or why. I eat when I'm hungry, and drink when I'm dry. For I want what I want when I want it. I want what I want when I want it.
I remember that, Victor.
The house was crowded, and the audience became so receptive that I had more confidence when we played the introduction to the next act. Everything was going so well, I'd almost forgotten the song when suddenly the cue came. If Miss Sheff was nervous, she certainly didn't betray the fact. She was a beautiful girl and made a striking picture in the costume she wore. I started the introduction, and Fritzy went to work like the great little artist she was.
Thank you.
The audience took to it instantly. There was never a doubt of its popularity. Miss Chef scored a tremendous personal success, so much so that even today, Kiss Me Again and Fritzy Chef are so inseparable that you never hear of the one without the other.
All right, Victor.
You have just heard another episode of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by Mr. Hal Skelly. Your sponsor will announce the date of the next episode. This is Leland Lee announcing. In this episode of his biography of Victor Herbert, Eddie Dowling again presents the popular star of stage and screen, Mr. Hal Skelly, who will recount another of his interesting experiences with the great composer. I take great pleasure in again introducing Mr. Hal Skelly.
Victor Herbert. I don't believe any man ever had a greater admirer than Victor Herbert had in me. The first time I met him was the opening night of Red Mill. Gee, I'll never forget that overture. Our meeting was a very informal one. I was about 14 and stage struck. A little after 7, I took my place in a long line of other Herbert enthusiasts, waiting for the gallery door to open at the Knickerbocker Theater, when suddenly we heard the sound of horses' hoofs tearing down the street. It was the first runaway I had ever seen. A man had started to cross the street toward the theater, evidently so wrapped up in his thoughts he didn't even hear the sound of hoofs. The horses were almost upon him when he looked around, and then in his hurry to get out of the way, stumbled and fell right in the path of the runaway.
I ran out and just managed to grab the bridle. The horse swung around shortly, and then he gave his head a violent toss, which incidentally tossed me about 20 feet. I picked myself up when the stranger came hurriedly over to me.
Are you hurt, my boy?
Oh, no, I'm all right, I guess.
You saved me from a bad accident. Walk down the street with me. I want to talk to you.
Oh, that's all right. The gallery door is open now, and I want to get a good seat.
Well, you won't have to go in the gallery, my boy. Take this card around to the manager and look me up after the show.
With that, he disappeared through the stage door. I hustled around to the box office, delighted at the chance of getting a free seat. In the lobby, I stopped to read the card, and my eyes nearly jumped out of my head. The name engraved on the card was Victor Herbert. Underneath, he had written in pencil, "This boy just saved me from a bad scrape. Take care of him." The card, well, it meant more to me than all the free seats in the world. So I put it carefully away and went back to the gallery. As I reached the ticket window, a man rushed up who had bought a ticket in advance and wanted to return it. I grabbed the ticket, gave the man the money. My seat was in the first row in the balcony. I had a good view of the audience downstairs, and what a sight it was. A Victor Herbert opening in those days was a society event. Soon, I was listening to a song that became a hit overnight.
Love is a queer little elephant stripe.
Left with the deadliest aim,
Shooting his arrows to left and right.
begging the rarest game.
Filling your heart with a glad surprise.
Almost too good to be true.
And still can you tell me, why do you love me?
Only because you are you, dear.
Not that I am fair, dear. Not that I am true. Not my golden hair.
Golden hair,
My eyes are blue.
your eyes are
Then up the reason
I certainly contributed my share of applause after that number. I was so enthusiastic, I gave vent to a good old gallery custom, whistling. I whistled so long and so loud that a big Irishman sitting next to me threatened to throw me over the rail if I didn't stop. That kept me quiet. But during the intermission, the orchestra played a medley that nearly started me off again.
through the show, I'd pick out the card Mr. Herbert had given me. Say, what a thrill I got every time I read the inscription. But finally, like all good things, the show came to an end with this number. After the show, intending to see Mr. Herbert, but found him surrounded by such elegant people, I decided to wait till I had a better chance, which didn't come till some years later. But the surprise it gave Mr. Herbert when I showed him the card was worth waiting for. Well, I haven't time to tell you now, but I'll save it for my next episode. Good night.
In this episode, Mr. Skelly has told you how he first met Victor Herbert. In the next program, Mr. Skelly will tell you what this meeting led to. Your local sponsor will announce the date of the next program. Your announcer is Leland Lee. This production is by Famous Artists of the Air. Episode of Eddie Dowling's biography of Victor Herbert, Mr. Hal Skelly, the popular stage and screen star, will continue with another of his intimate experiences with the great composer. In the last episode, I told you of my meeting with Victor Herbert, in which I played the role of what he afterwards called the Good Samaritan. For the benefit of those who may not have listened in on my story, I repeat this much. It was the opening night of Victor Herbert's Red Mill. I was about 14 and was waiting for the gallery door to open when a man started across the street and stumbled in the path of a runaway horse. I stopped the horse, and the man, on hearing that I was anxious to get up into the gallery to see the show, gave me a card to the manager. The name on the card was Victor Herbert, and in pencil he had written, "This boy has just saved me from a bad scrape. Take care of him." He told me to see him after the show. However, I kept the card as a souvenir and saw the show from the gallery. I didn't see him that night, but some years later, when I began to get a little success on the stage, I met Victor socially, and we became good friends. Of course, he didn't remember me, and I didn't want to embarrass him by bringing the subject up. But one day in 1917, I was sitting in the Lambs Club with some friends. That night, Victor had a new operetta opening called Irene. We were all anxious to attend the premiere. We phoned for tickets and found the house sold out. Jokingly, I said, "Well, I'm going to get in to see Victor's opening tonight, and I'm going to get in with a pass from him." Victor was sitting at another table, and one of his friends called him over.
Oh, Victor? Yes, I'll be right there.
Say, if we'd have had any sense, we'd have bought tickets a week ago.
Well, it's a great time to think of it now.
Hello, how are you, boys?
Say, Victor, the house is sold out for tonight, and I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a pass.
I can't do that, my boy.
Well,
Just
Hal
said
just said-
yourself, the house is sold out.
Well, Hal just said you were going to give him one.
He's kidding you.
I'm not kidding, Victor. I'm going to see the show tonight, and on a pass from you.
I'll bet you a nice new hat you won't.
Great. I'll take that bet.
All right, you gentlemen are witnesses.
And so the bet was made. I went home and got the cherished card that Victor had given me some years ago. And that night I boldly presented it to the manager of the show, who apologized for not being able to provide me with a seat, but said that I was welcome to stand if I didn't mind. I'd have stood on my head to see it. The score is one of the most beautiful Victor ever wrote. All the Irish innings came out in this music. It would be difficult to pick any certain number as the hit of this show, because all the numbers were hits. However, this one was one of my favorites.
I love her
During the intermission, I met Victor in the lobby talking to the manager.
Hello, Hal. I see you're here.
Yes, I told you I'd get in. And by the way, Victor, you owe me a new hat.
No, I didn't bet you wouldn't get in. I said you wouldn't get in on a pass.
That's right. That's how I got in, on a pass.
Not from me.
Ask your manager.
Then it's a fake. You wrote it yourself.
It's your handwriting, Mr. Herbert.
It is, eh? Get that pass and give it to me after the performance.
It's now time for Victor to go back to his orchestra. In a moment, they were playing the introduction to the next act. But there was a song in the second act that made my Irish blood tingle. When they sang it, I thought I was in the St. Patrick's Day parade. Here's how it went. Here's a great night tonight for the Irene, for the cause we fought for and died. And the time is soon to be when you see old Ireland free. 'Tis the land of our love and our pride. We despise and defy our oppressors, and the tyrant's laws we will find. But as fast as they can make 'em, begorry we can break 'em. Sure, the Irish have a great day tonight. Go on, Jerry, take your hand. There you are. That's the girl, Jimmy. Come on, Jim, back here, brother. There you're back, right there. Oh, that's go on. Go on. But as fast as they can make 'em, begorry we can break 'em. Well, I got the manager after the curtain came down, and he took the pass, and together we went back to Victor.
Oh, Mr. Herbert, here's that pass you wanted to see.
Oh, yes. Let me have a look at it.
Well, that's no fake, is it, Victor?
Why, that's my handwriting. Where did you get this, Hal?
You gave it to me. Yes, for stopping that horse some years ago on 38th Street. Don't you remember the opening night of the Red Mill?
You don't mean to tell me that you were that boy?
In person. Well, do I win the hat?
You certainly do. You were my good Samaritan that night, my boy. And if I'm not mistaken, I owe you a suit, too. For it seems to me that horse gave your clothes a queer old mussing up.
You have just heard another episode of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told to you by Mr. Hal Shelley. Your sponsor will announce the date of the next episode. Your announcer is Leland Lee. This production is by famous artists of the air.
his biography of Victor Herbert, Eddie Dowling again presents the popular star, Hal Shelley.
Thank you. I thought it would be interesting for this episode to introduce to you an old friend of mine, who is an old friend and associate of Victor Herbert, Mr. Fred Stahlberg.
Of all the operettas Victor Herbert has written, the score of It Happened in Nordland is one of the finest. Although it is a good many years since it was first played, I'm sure this music will sound familiar to you. Like Victor Herbert, I studied music in Germany, but I did not know him there. However, I did know his mother very well. In fact, we lived for a time at the same house in Stuttgart. Mrs. Herbert was a wonderful woman, and she was intensely proud of Victor. In 1899, I made up my mind to try my luck in America, and she gave me a letter of introduction to Mr. Herbert. He was in Pittsburgh with his concert orchestra when I arrived in New York, and so, well, I followed him on there. I arrived about 6 in the evening, and I was just inquiring about him at the desk when he stepped out of the elevator, and the clerk pointed him out to me. Our conversation was something like this. Oh, Mr. Victor Herbert?
What is it, my boy?
I have a letter of introduction to you.
You'll have to give it to me some other time. I have a dinner engagement, and I'm late.
Shall I leave the letter with you now?
No, you'd better keep it and bring it with you. Who's it from?
It's from your mother.
Well, that's different. Where's the letter? When did you see her?
She gave me this letter 2 weeks ago when I was leaving Germany.
You don't tell me. Come up to my room, my boy. I want to hear all about her.
Well, he forgot all about his dinner engagement. Victor was devoted to his mother, and for 2 hours he plied me with questions concerning her. She had told him in the letter that I was a violinist and asked him to find a place for me. The next day he heard me play and engaged me immediately. Thus began an association that lasted more than 20 years. One of Victor's most lovable qualities was his sense of humor. He had the divine gift of enjoying a joke even when the laugh was on himself. A striking example of this happened the opening night of the play I mentioned a while ago. It happened in Nordland. Following his usual custom, Victor had set aside a seat for his wife. Well, something happened at the last minute to prevent his wife going, but Victor didn't know this. So she gave the seat to Lena, their German cook. Well, the show got underway, and in a few minutes, everyone knew that Victor Herbert had another success. And the cast was a notable one, including Lou Fields, Blanche Ring, Mary Cale, and a host of others. And the audience took a particular liking to this number.
When light is gray and dark, the dawn, and you are blue, there is, they say, on such a morn, one thing to do. Rise up and ring a bell, boy, call to you.
straightway and bid him bring a cold and tall Please, you first from the burning thirst that is born of a night of the pole. Like a sun will rise to the east skies that so heavenly hang o'er your soul. At the first cool sip on your fevered lips, determined to live through the day. Life again worthwhile as the dawning smile. You imbibe your absurd again worthwhile as the dawning smile. You imbibe your absurd
Victor always had a host of friends at his openings, and during the intermission he met quite a few in the lobby. A supper party was arranged in his honor to be held after the show. Upon being acquainted of this fact, Victor called an usher and gave him the location of his wife's seat and told him to ask the lady to meet Mr. Herbert backstage after the show and go to supper with him. The usher came back in a few minutes and said the lady would be there. And then a few minutes later, we were playing the introduction to the next act. The audience demanded so many encores that night that the cast and the musicians were just about exhausted when we came to the film. After the show, Victor was back on the stage, surrounded by his friends, waiting for Mrs. Herbert, when Dina walked in. Well, Dina weighed about 200 pounds and was dressed like the proverbial plush horse. Victor was astonished when she walked up to him.
Well, Lena, what's the matter?
Nothing, Mr. Herbert. Everything was lovely.
What are you doing back here?
Didn't you invite me to supper yet?
Where's Mrs. Herbert?
She couldn't come. Though she gave me the ticket. By and by a boy comes down and says, Mr. Herbert wants I should come back from the stage and have supper with him. And so I say, sure, and here I am.
Well, that's very kind of you, Lena, and I'll certainly be delighted to have your company at supper.
Of course, Victor had to stand a lot of kidding from his friends that night. But he couldn't have been more attentive to Lena if she had been the Queen of England. And as for Lena, that night was the red-letter event of her life, for she never got through telling her friends how Victor Herbert once invited her to supper.
You have just heard another episode of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by Mr. Fred Stahlberg. Your sponsor will give you further information regarding this series. Your announcer is Leland Lee. This production is by famous artists of the air.